HajimeNoIppo is one of the greatest sports stories ever written. It's been running for over 30 years. It has one of the most beloved anime adaptations of its era, and it does not have a good video game. I want to be careful here, because if I say there are no Ippo games, the comment section is going to correct me in about 4 seconds. There are Ippo games. There's Victorious Boxers on the PS2. There were sequels. Most of them never left Japan. But the newest one that a Western audience could realistically play came out on the PlayStation 2. That's the state of the art. For a franchise this big, there is nothing on modern hardware that captures what makes this story work. So, about 2.5 years ago, when I was a senior in high school, I decided I'd make it myself. Quick context if you're new here, I'm Colin. I've been building a game called Back on Your Feet for about 28 months now. It's a 2D narrative boxing game. There's a demo out, I'll get to that later. Here's the thing I need you to understand about Ippo, and it's the reason this video exists. The fighting is not why it's good. I mean, the fighting is incredible, but if you actually break down why people are still watching a show about a shy kid who gets pushed around a lot, it's that every single opponent is a person. Not a difficulty tier, not a boss with a health bar and a gimmick, a guy with a reason to be standing there. And that's the specific thing that almost no boxing game does. Fight Night gives you a career mode, the old Ippo game gives you the manga's fights recreated, neither one gives you the 8 weeks of build-up that makes the fight land. That gap is what I've spent 2 years trying to fill. So let me actually be specific about the inspiration, because inspired by is a phrase people use to mean nothing. The main story of Back on Your Feet is built around a boxing tournament, and that's a direct structural lift from the rookie tournament arc, not the plot, the philosophy. The rookie tournament works because it refuses to have filler opponents. You get a bracket, and every name on that bracket is somebody the story is going to make you care about before you're allowed to fight them. Some of them you end up liking more than the protagonist. So that's the rule I set for my own bracket. If a fighter has a slot in the tournament, they get a story. If I can't write a reason for you to care about them, they don't make the cut. That constraint has killed more of my own ideas than anything else in this project. Ippo has this recurring thing where the pre-fight press conference is its own event. It's not a cutscene you skip on the way to the ring, it's where the psychological warfare happens, where a fighter gets in your head, where the crowd turns. Takamura's are the obvious reference point, and honestly his are mostly comedy, but the format stuck with me. So, Back on Your Feet has playable press conferences. In the demo, there's one before the second tournament fight against Jerry Abbasi, 4th ranked heavyweight, 25-4, every single win by knockout. And the entire scene is him digging up something in Ken's past and promising to finish him in the same way it happened years ago. That scene does more work than the fight after it. That's the purpose. That's the lesson. This one's the most literal. There's a training drill early in Ippo where he's out in the park catching falling leaves out of the air, one at a time, to build reflexes. It's a famous sequence. If you watch the show, you know exactly what I'm talking about the second you saw the thumbnail. I built a minigame out of it. You're in the park, leaves come down, you catch 30 of them, you're allowed 3 misses. I posted a clip of this to Ippo's subreddit about a month ago side by side with the reference, and it did really well, which was the first real confirmation I've had that the people who love this show recognize what I'm going for. This is the hardest one to copy and the one I think matters most. Ippo is funny, genuinely funny. There are entire episodes that are basically gym comedy, and then it will turn around and give you a fight where somebody's career ends and you feel sick about it. Most stories can't do both. They pick a lane because tonal whiplash is a real risk and it's easier to just be consistently serious. But the comedy is why the serious parts hurt. You spend all that time in the gym with these idiots, so when one of them is in trouble, it costs you something. So my game is built the same way. You'll walk around town, get roasted for poking around in places you're not supposed to be, find dumb stuff, and then the fight starts and the tone drops through the floor. Okay, now the part I need to actually say clearly. Back on Your Feet is not a HajimeNoIppo game. It is not a fan game, it is not a reskin. It's not Ippo, but legally distinct. The story is entirely original. Ken is not Ippo, his motivation, his background, where he starts and where he ends up, none of that maps onto that story. The thing hanging over him in the press conference scene is mine. every character in the game is original. Their identities, their histories, their fighting styles, what they want, what they're afraid of. Nobody in my bracket is a serial numbers filed off version of somebody from the manga. And the ending, including who's waiting for you at the end of that bracket, is something I'm not talking about in this video because I want that to land for people who actually play the game. What I took was structure and philosophy, tournament as a character showcase, build up to the main event, comedy that earns the drama. What I didn't take was a single character, plot point, or line. I'm saying this in the video because I think it's the honest version. A lot of inspired by projects are quietly hoping you don't look too closely. I'd rather just tell you where the line is. And here's where the comparison breaks down entirely, which is the combat. An anime can make a punch feel good with 3 seconds of build-up and sound cue. A game has to make it feel good in your hands at 60 frames a second on the 400th punch you've thrown that session. So the combat isn't adapted from anywhere, it's designed. Here's how it actually works. There's a stamina bar, and it's the spine of the whole system. Throwing punches costs stamina, you can't dodge without stamina, so if you empty it, you're a heavy bag. This is the single change that makes it feel like boxing instead of a beat 'em up. You cannot hold down attack, you have to pick your moments, and picking wrong is what loses you fights. Landing clean combos doesn't just deal damage, it applies buffs to you and debuffs to your opponent. So a good exchange compounds, you're not just chipping a health bar down, you're changing the state of the fight. On top of all that, completing a combo refills your stamina bar. That's the incentive structure. The game is constantly asking you to take the risk of finishing a combo because the payoff isn't linear. And the same works against you. Get caught in a bad exchange and you're fighting in the next 30 seconds at a disadvantage you created. And then there are ultimate abilities, which charge up over the course of a fight and can only be thrown when they're fully charged. This is the one place I'll admit the anime is directly in the DNA, because the thing every great Ippo fight builds to is the one signature punch that everybody's been waiting for. I want that moment to exist mechanically, not just narratively, so you feel the meter filling and you've been looking for an opening, and when you finally land it, it's the payoff for the entire fight. All of that sits in a top-down pixel art style, which I picked partly because I love how Stardew Valley looks, and partly because a solo dev making a 3D fighter is a solo dev who will never finish their game. There's a demo right now on itch. It's the first 2 acts, about an hour, 4 fights, and it ends on that Jerry Abbasi press conference in the fight that follows it. It's on itch and not Steam on purpose. I'm collecting feedback on this version so that the one that goes up for Steam Next Fest in October is genuinely better. The full game's targeting November. If you want to actually help, the wishlist link in the description is the most important thing. And it matters more than any other single thing you could do. There's also a Discord where I post progress, take questions, and pick playtesters for the full build. And if you're an Ippo fan who came here suspicious that I was going to butcher something you love, I hope the leaf thing brought me a little credit. Go catch some leaves and tell me if I got it right. Anyways, thanks so much for watching.